Hi, welcome to this yin yoga class for runners. Since this is a yin style class, make sure you're either doing this after your run or on your recovery day. I will be guiding you into each pose, and we will stay in each pose for a minute or two. So make sure you're not coming into your deepest expression of the pose. Just come to the point where you begin to feel sensation so that you can remain still once you're in the pose. I will be using a block today, so if you have a block, go ahead and grab one of those. If not, just use a thick book. Let's go ahead and begin. So we'll start sitting back on the heels, letting the hands rest on the thighs. And if it feels okay for you, go ahead and close your eyes. Letting the shoulders fall away from the ears. And letting the face and jaw soften. Just taking the first few moments to focus on your breath. Leaving behind whatever was going on before you came to your yoga mat. And trying not to worry too much about what will come after. And take a deep inhale through the nose. And then exhale through the nose or mouth. Slowly open your eyes if they're closed. And we'll start off today by stretching the tops of the feet and top of the ankles. So if you're already feeling a stretch here, you can go ahead and stay here like this. Or you have the option of coming back onto the hands. Or you can take your block and then lift the knees and let the knees rest on the block. So just finding stillness wherever you are and focusing on the breath. And then slowly begin to make your way out of the pose. If you used your block, place it over to the side. Place the hands down onto the mat. And then tuck the toes, lift the hips to come into downward facing dog. From here, go ahead and walk the hands back towards the feet, bending the knees as much as needed. Feet are about hip width apart. So we'll be here in this dangling position for several breaths. You can let the hands rest on your block, on the mat, or you can hold opposite elbows. Go ahead and let the back of the neck soften. Let the breath soften. And then resolve to remain as still as you can. From here, slowly walk the hands back out in front of you. And then drop the knees back down to the ground and come back to sit on the heels again. From here, we'll come into toe stretch. So lean forward, tuck the toes, and then let the hips rest back on the heels. So we're feeling a stretch in the backs of the feet and in the toes. If you feel this here, you can go ahead and keep the hands planted on the ground, or you can let the hands rest on the thighs, making sure each toe is tucked under. Finding quiet within this pose. At any point this becomes too intense, take a break. And then slowly release the pose by sending the hands back down to the ground, slowly untucking the toes. Maybe patting the feet out on the mat, pressing the tops of the feet into the ground. And then we'll make our way into our dragon pose. So from your tabletop position, take your right foot to the outside of the right hand. And then let the back leg go down along the mat. So the hips are coming forward and down. Feeling a stretch here in the front of the right hip. So you can stay here, or you can go ahead and come down onto the forearms. From here, begin to bend the back leg. Reach back with the right hand and hold on to the foot so that you feel more of a stretch in the left quadricep. Very slowly release the back foot to the floor. Then press up onto the hands and return to your tabletop position. And then we'll make our way to the other side. So take the left foot to the outside of the left hand, and then let the right leg go down along the mat so that the hips drop forward and down. Remember, you have the option to stay up on the hands, or you can come down onto the forearms. Feeling a stretch in the front of the right hip. And then from here, go ahead and bend the back leg. Reach back with the left hand, holding onto the foot, bringing the stretch more into the quadricep muscle. And gently release the back foot. And then slowly make your way back to tabletop. And then from here, we'll press back into downward facing dog, just for a couple of breaths. Bend the knees as much as you need to. And then drop the knees back down to the ground. And we'll come into pigeon pose or sleeping swan. So take the right knee to the back of the right wrist, and then let the foot rest anywhere between the left hand and the left hip. Let the back leg go down along the mat. If your right hip is not coming into contact with the floor, you can go ahead and use your block to place underneath your hip. So you should be feeling a stretch in the right hip. If you feel that here, you can go ahead and stay here, or you can lower down any amount. Your chest is lowered. Begin to slowly lift it, placing the palms back down onto the ground, and then slowly making your way back to tabletop. And then we'll come into sleeping swan on the left side. So bring the left knee to the back of the left wrist, and then let the foot fall anywhere between the right hand and right hip, letting the right leg go down along the mat. Again, if this left hip is not coming into contact with the floor, you can place a block underneath. And then if you're feeling the stretch in your hip here, you can go ahead and stay here, or you can lower the chest any amount. Finding your place of stillness, focusing on the breath. Begin to slowly make your way out of the pose. Returning to your tabletop position. And then tucking the toes and returning to downward facing dog for a couple of breaths. Bending the knees as much as you need. And then returning the knees back down to the ground and making your way to a seated position. Take the legs long and out to the side, so you're in a bit of a straddle here. And then begin to walk the hands out in front of you until you begin to feel a stretch in the inner thighs. Letting the feet relax. And then go ahead, find the place where you can remain quiet and still. And slowly begin to walk the hands back toward the body to come out of the pose. Place your hands behind you and the soles of the feet down onto the mat, wider than the hips. Just let the legs fall from side to side. Then we'll come back to center and make our way into a reclined position. It's coming to lay down on your mat. And we'll come into a supported bridge pose by taking our block and placing it underneath us. Place the block underneath your pelvis, not underneath the lower back. So you're welcome to stay here with the soles of the feet on the ground. You also have the option of taking the arms overhead. And then even if you want to stretch the legs out long, letting the feet relax. If your legs are stretched out long, go ahead and slowly place the soles of the feet back down onto the ground. And then remove the block from underneath you and set it to the side. From here, we'll come into banana asana, so we'll get a stretch on the side body. Take the feet over to the left side of the mat, and then cross the right foot over the left. And then take the arms overhead and shift the upper body over to the left side of the mat. So you're now in this banana shape. And then you can hold onto the right wrist, or you can hold on to opposite elbows. So feeling a stretch in the right side of the body. And very slowly make your way out of the pose, bringing the body back to center. And rest here for just a couple of breaths. And then we'll make our way to the other side. So taking the feet to the right side of the mat and then crossing the left foot over the right. And then taking the arms and shoulders over to the right side of the mat. And then holding on to the left wrist, or you can hold on to opposite elbows. Feeling the stretch down the left side of the body. And slowly returning the body back to center and making our way into Shavasana. So letting the legs go long, feet wider than the hips, and then letting the feet fall out to the sides. Hands can rest down beside you with the palms facing up, or you could even have the arms overhead. Taking the first few moments to scan from the tip of the toes to the top of the head. Noticing if there's any tension remaining in the body. And if so, allowing that tension to release into the floor on your exhales. So this is where I will leave you today. Stay here as long as you need. Thank you for practicing with me.